This is the fourth gate of Kammasaka Zen and its monastery ritual. This is Dharma talk number 2, entitled Perception and Reality, Unraveling the True Nature of Existence. The distinction between perception and reality has been a central question in many philosophies, traditions throughout history, but it holds a particular unique place in Zen. In Zen, the exploration of perception and reality is not merely intellectual, but experiential. So Zen practitioners seek to transcend the illusionary nature of perception to uncover the ultimate truth of existence, a reality that goes beyond the confines of dualistic thinking and conceptualization. Zen views perception as something that often clouds the true nature of reality, creating layers of illusion that separate the observer from direct experience. So the Zen path is an invitation to see through these layers without the distortion of the ego or conceptual thought. It is this second Dharma gate of the fourth gate of Kammasaka Zen where we're going to explore the Zen understanding of perception and reality, examining the relationship between the two, the role of meditation and the role of mindfulness. And also look at the insights that dawn from Zen teachings and practices that guide practitioners towards awakening. So perception as an illusion in everyday life. We tend to trust our senses and perceptions to give us an accurate picture of reality. We see the world through this lens, the lens of our thoughts, through the lens of our emotions, and through the lens of our past experiences, which shapes how we interpret what is going on, what we encounter. However, Zen teaching suggests that this resilience or perception, it often tends to lead us away from the truth rather than towards it. And Zen refers to this misinterpretation as illusion. In Sanskrit we call it Maya. And according to Zen, perception is inherently subjective and conditioned by a myriad of factors such as desires and fears and memories and biases. It's these mental formations that create a veil between the perceiver and the true nature of what is perceived. The mind becomes a distorted mirror, reflecting not only reality itself, but a version of it filtered through our individual karmatic conditioning. And one of the key metaphors used in Zen to describe this illusory nature of perception is that of a clouded sky. The true sky, representing reality, is vast, clear and boundless, but it's often obscured by clouds. here talking about clouds being thoughts, beliefs, emotions. So from the ground, it may appear that the sky is grey and overcast. But in truth, the clouds are just temporary and do not change the sky itself. Similarly, our perceptions are like the clouds that obscure the true nature of reality. But they do not alter the fundamental nature of existence, which remains pure and unchanging. So the nature of reality in Zen teaches that reality is as it truly is, beyond all concepts and dualities. It cannot be grasped through intellectual understanding. It may never even be able to describe by words. This ultimate reality is often referred to as suchness, tathata, the unconditioned state of things as they are. It is also synonymous with the concept of emptiness, shunyata, which denotes the absence of inherent existence in all phenomena. Emptiness, however, does not imply a nihilistic void, but rather it points to the interconnectedness and impermanence of all things. Zen points to the illusionary nature of the ego, the self that perceives the world as separate and distinctive. The ego creates a sense of duality, subject and object, self and other. And this tends to give rise to our suffering and our dissatisfaction. Reality in Zen, or in Zen understanding, is non-dual. It transcends the distinction of self and other, revealing the interconnectedness and the interdependence of all things. And it's in this sense reality is fluid, dynamic, and it is constantly changing. Zen masters often describe reality as just this, the present moment, experienced without the interference of thought or judgment. In this state, there is no separation between the perceiver and the perceived. The experience is direct and immediate, free from conceptual overlays that normally cloud our perception. In this sense, perception and reality are one and the same. But only when the mind is free from attachment to thoughts and dualistic thinking can it be the same. The role of meditation, you can see through the illusion. So Zen is the primary practice through which one can penetrate the illusory nature of perception and simply experience reality directly. So Zen involves sitting in silence, observing the mind and body without attachment or aversion. Through this practice, the practitioner gradually becomes aware of the ways in which their perceptions are shaped, how they are shaped by thought patterns, how they are shaped by our emotional reactions. So meditation allows one to observe the mind's activity without getting caught up in it. As thoughts arise, they are seen as what they are: temporary, fleeting phenomena that have no inherent reality of their own. So by observing the mind in this way, the practitioner begins to see through the illusion of a separate self and gains an insight into the true nature of reality. A common experience in meditation is the realization that the boundaries between self and the world are not as solid as they appear. And as thoughts start to quieten down, the distinction between subject and object begins to dissolve. And the practitioner may experience a sense of unity. Unity with everything that is around them. This is sometimes described as merging with the moment, or becoming one with the universe. And it's in these moments perception and reality converge, and the practitioner glimpses the truth beyond this dualistic sense of thinking. But then there's the paradox of non-perception. And Zen teachings often emphasize the true understanding that comes not through seeing or perceiving reality, but through letting go of the every act of perceiving. Now, this might seem paradoxical, but it reflects the idea that perception, as an act of the mind, is inherently limited and conditioned. The moment we try to perceive reality, we are already creating a separation between ourselves and what we are perceiving. So Zen masters often teach through koans, paradoxical statements or questions. And they are designed to short-circuit the rational mind and point the practitioner towards the direct experience of reality. Now, one famous koan, my favourite koan, what is your face before your father was born? This question is meant to provoke a deep inquiry into the nature of the self and its relationship to reality, to point to the fact that our usual way of perceiving the world through the lens of identity and duality is fundamentally flawed. In Zen, enlightenment is often described as seeing one's true nature, or waking up to the reality that has always been present, but simply obscured by our delusion. This awakening is not a matter of gaining some new perception or insight, but of seeing through the illusion or the illusions that have clouded our perception all along. It's like a process of unlearning rather than learning, of letting go of the mental constructs that keep us trapped in a limited view of this reality. Now, in the Zen ox herding pictures, they are a journey from perception to reality. Zen traditions offers a powerful visual metaphor of the journey from perception to reality in the form of the 10 ox herding pictures. These 10 images, accompanied by poems, they depict the stages of spiritual development in Zen, from the initial search for the ox to, the initial search for the ox is a symbol for the nature of reality, to a final return to the marketplace, symbolising the integration of enlightenment into our everyday life. Feel that one. In the first few pictures, the ox herder is lost and confused, searching for the ox without knowing where to look. This represents the state of delusion, in which our perceptions are clouded, and they're clouded by our ignorance and attachment. As the ox herder progresses, he begins to catch a glimpse of the ox, which symbolises the gradual realisation of the true nature of reality. Eventually the ox is tamed and ridden, signifying the mastery of the mind and the dissolution of our dualistic perceptions. In the final image, the ox herder returns to the world, free from attachment and fully in harmony with the flow of life. This final stage represents the realization that perception and reality are not separate, and that enlightenment is not an escape from the world, but rather a return to it with a clear, unobstructed mind. The Buddha talked about the middle way. It's about balancing perception and reality. And Zen teaches a path of the middle way, a balance between extremes of attachment to perception and the rejection of reality. The middle way involves acknowledging the role of perception in shaping our experiences, while recognising its limitations. It's not about denying the world of appearances, but about seeing through them to the deeper truth that lies beyond. And in the words of the great Zen Master Dojin, to study the self is to forget the self. And to forget the self is to be awakened by the 10,000 things. This teaching points to the paradox that at the heart of Zen practice is about letting go of the self and the attachments to perception. We open ourselves to full richness of the reality that is. So, Therefore, in Zen, the relationship between perception and reality is not a theoretical problem to be solved, but a lived experience to be realised. And perception, when coloured by the ego and dualistic thinking, it creates a distorted view of reality. But through meditation and the practice of mindfulness, we as practitioners can see through this illusion, through the illusions created by perception, through the illusions created by incorrect thinking, and experience reality directly beyond the limitations of thought and language. So the ultimate goal of Zen practice is to realise the non-duality of perception and reality, to see that the two are not separate, but they are one and the same. They are one and the same when viewed from the perspective of awakened awareness. And in this state of awakening, distinctions between self and other, subject and object, dissolve. And then the practitioner experiences life in its pure, unconditioned form. Now, this realisation is not something that can be grasped intellectually or maybe even expressed in words. It is a direct experience that arises from deep practice and insight. And in the end, Zen teaches us that the path to understanding perception and the path to understanding reality is not through seeking, but it's through letting go. Letting go of concepts, letting go of attachments, letting go of the very idea of the separate self. And it's only then we awaken to the truth that has always been present. The boundless, interconnected, and ever-changing reality of existence.